Well, hello everyone, and TGIF. Thank goodness it's Friday. It's been a pretty monumental week, and I'm glad we made it through. I'm looking forward to a nice weekend, and I hope you are too. A lot happened around my house and in my garden that makes me so happy. We did a lot of restorative work after the ice storm that's finally completed. There are a few things that are on my to-do list, like that wonky topiary there that needs to be set right. But other things that really caused some mess and some mayhem have been taken care of. The roof repair is done. The guttering and the flashing that was damaged in the storm is done. I have a new air conditioning compressor outside with lots of added work that is done. And I feel a little bit relieved, like I can kind of breathe a sigh of relief and now start thinking about spring now that all those kind of onerous things have been taken care of. So I wanted to kind of do a walkabout in the backyard. I haven't done one for a long time, but since I'm feeling a little bit more organized and like we've gotten some things done, I wanted to take the opportunity to do that. Here are a couple things that you have asked me about, and I want to point out in greater detail. Some of you have asked about this gold dust plant here, Akuba Japonica. It is great for the shade. It has kind of a glossy evergreen appearance to it, which can kind of illuminate a shady spot like it does here. It looks beautiful with these Japanese spreading yews, and it can handle pretty deep shade. So it's a wonderful candidate for gardens that need something that can get, oh, in this case, they're probably 5 to 6 feet tall, though I could keep them in a more diminutive state if I wanted to, but they're really beautiful. They put out some red berries, but they do great in shade, and I love it. I love the texture and the sheen of it as a counterpoint to these Japanese spreading yews. A couple of other things that I want to put on your radar screen are these lemon cypress. These are topiary that you can really only find easily, I find, at least in Oklahoma around the holidays. And some of these I've had for a while, but some of these, I think this conical one I got over the holidays. To follow up for the millionth time on their care, as you guys have so noted in my Facebook group and in other places, lemon cypress can be finicky. They don't like to dry out. They don't like to get too hot. They like just the right amount of sunlight. But interestingly, as an outdoor plant, they do pretty well in the wintertime. And all of these have been in this state on my back patio table, which I want you guys to notice I just cleaned just for you guys. It was very gratifying. And look at the beautiful, one thing about a glass top table with all of its drawbacks, one of its assets is that it reflects things just beautifully. And this time of year, it almost looks like a body of water. Look at those beautiful reflections of the redbud trees. But back to the lemon cypress, they have been on this table all winter long. They're mulched in gravel, and they're doing just fine. To celebrate the kind of updates and restoration of normalcy to my backyard, I have lit some candles. What's fun about these are something that are kind of special to me. They belong to my mom. They come, I don't know what these are called. They're not necessarily hurricanes, but they have a projection out of the base that then can go into any standard taper candlestick. And what I like about them, at least at this point in time, is I can light them, and even with a slight breeze, candles can burn out, but when they're protected in these little hurricanes, it doesn't seem to be a problem at all. So I lit them just for you, and it will be fun to see what they look like at night. Now, another thing that's fun to look at night, I I'm so happy to have these back up again, even though the poor trees are damaged and broken. But I got my string lights back up. A number of you have asked about their absence, and it's because in the storm they were completely demolished, and I just got some more. They were hung yesterday. I get them off of Amazon. I'll put a link below. But they just make me happy. A lot of you watch my morning meditations that I sometimes put on my Instagram feed. You can follow me there at Potager Blog. And I have missed them in the morning when I look out the window when it's still dark. And they're not there. I have missed them, but now they're back where they belong. And I'm happy about that. Look at that beautiful, beautiful blue sky. Now it is nippy out today. It is chilly. I'm going to say it's probably in the high 40s. And this weekend, if it's nice, I plan to do some work outside. And also, I want to give you an update. And thank you so much for all of your questions and concern about Stewart, my photographer. He is feeling ever so much better. And it will be safe for him to be back out and about again this weekend. So we will be starting our new 2021 season of shooting this weekend. And I will be so happy to see him again and welcome him back. Now I'm pointing to this stand here of Hydrangea macrophylla because I am getting ready in the not too distant future to put some triple superphosphate on here to protect emerging buds that may be blasted by a late freeze. And when you give a little dose of super triple phosphate, it can sometimes protect them against that and give them a little bit more vigor to withstand that onslaught of cold. It's not a guarantee, but it's a measure that I definitely try to take. You can see that they're very much mulched still in leaves, but you can see that also there is starting to be some swelling of buds, and I'm gonna have to keep an eye on them. One thing I'm kind of excited about, every dark cloud there is a silver lining, and with all of the damage on the redbud tree, one thing it did was get me some much more needed light. So there will be more light in this area. The tree won't be as beautiful, but hopefully the hydrangeas will make up for that with more intense color, more blooming, and hopefully more vigor. So I'm looking forward to that. And look at this beautiful Distilleum. This is one of those southern living plants that's kind of a boxwood substitute if you need one. It has done just fine in this pot. This is my second year for them, so I'm really anxious to see how they perform and how they begin to flush out in the spring. So here is another quick change out I did. My garden bench in the front, which is this one here, you can see that that, like Venus, it is missing something, and it's missing its left side as we look at it. That was destroyed in the storm. This was actually the bench that was on the front porch. The bench that used to be here was identical to it, and it was completely intact. So I moved that one to the front porch. And this one was still had enough structural integrity. I certainly didn't want to throw it away. And so I just switched them out. This left side here, right side if you're sitting, that person won't have an armrest, but they seldom did before anyway, because when this Annabelle hydrangea next to it fills out, it normally camouflages and completely covers up that arm anyway. So until I can get a replacement, this will be fine. And even though it is bent, it's not completely broken in my estimation, and I hate to throw things away that still have value. One upcoming video that we're going to do is kind of a recitation of some of my favorite things that I like to buy at secondhand stores for the garden. And if you are like me and you like to reuse, recycle, and repurpose things that still have value, then you might want to make sure that you tune in. Look at how beautifully these bassets are continuing to look. I know I've shown you before, but in a barren landscape, when you have something that is putting out 1 or 2 blooms, don't we appreciate them ever so much more? And these pansies, the color of them just looks so beautiful with that Flirtandina. And this is a good example of edible landscaping, because in here I have mixed both ornamental and edible kale along with really what are edible flowers, violas and pansies, and I treat these organically. So should I want to take a little pinch a little snack for myself, I guess I could. And then in here I've got those, you may recall I planted some white hyacinths in here, so when they come up I think it's going to be beautiful and a great accompaniment to the interiors of these ornamental kale in white. And I'll give them a good feed then. Not quite time yet though. Now, one thing I am going to be doing, because all of my evergreens kind of took a hit, is in the not too distant future, I'll let you know when, I'll be putting out a feed of Espoma Hollytone for all my acid loving plants. Now, speaking of hydrangeas, another thing I'm excited about, you may recall, I'll see if I can get Stewart to put a picture up that shows these white wedding hydrangeas back here. For 2 or 3 years I had them in some very large chalice shaped containers, and they were getting too big for that, so I planted a huge swath of them back here. They're putting out what I hope is really good root growth, and then hopefully with a sprinkling of some super triple phosphate, they too will put out some really beautiful white blooms. And this whole area, I think, then in the summer will be really gorgeous. This area is going to get a little bit more light too, because this very large arborvitae here lost some branches. But I imagine because we've had fairly adequate rain this year, that once warm weather arrives with a feed and with some more rain, I think and I hope that they will come back like gangbusters. And there is my pretty viburnum that I always have to look forward to. I won't do a walkabout of the potager today, but I have a number of things I want to tell you about it going forward into our new shooting season. It's a winter green boxwood, you guys, and so much of it had really been separated, splayed. The weight of the snow that we had in December really kind of disrupted its form, which I will have to restore, but nevertheless it still looks beautiful, I think. So there's a little walkabout of the backyard, giving you an idea of what's going on, what's to come. I'm probably like many of you, as soon as the holidays are over, I'm ready for spring. I'm itching to get out here and start removing a lot of the leafy debris and cutting things back, but I'm going to hold off on that for a little while longer. There are a few things that can be done safely at this point. Look at that stand of daffodils right there. I might put some bulb food on all of my emerging bulbs. I've got some alliums up now and some daffodils, so I might give them a little bulb boost. Pretty soon I'll be cutting back the barberries. But again, I will do those things and have you guys by my side as I do them, so you will know what I do when. learned all of this through a lot of mistakes and trial and error. So you guys have a wonderful